that's where we're going to pick up today. We're going to talk about the homework, which that was to finish all of your myths and read through those. It was also to give some thought around those limiting beliefs that you believe might be hindering you either in personal growth or in your business. And so that's where we kind of want to start. I'd love to see what your thoughts are, what you highlighted in those pages, maybe some ahas, or, if you'd love to share, I know it's personal, so no pressure on that. But if you'd love to share what you believe, maybe a limiting belief that you have that could be holding you back. So go ahead. Who'd love to share?
I'll share.
Go
Sorry,
for
I'm
it.
getting away from my daughter because she's inside and she's loud. She's with my baby, her grandmother.
No problem.
So I'm glad I joined today because I am having doubts about myself. Like I'm I am afraid to fail. So I'm like debating if I should join a team that I just had an interview with yesterday. And and it's not because of the team, it's because of me. I'm afraid to fail the team, sort of. Even though like I know I have what it takes, but like something just like I don't know, have doubts. Sometimes I have those doubts.
Ooh, that's a good one. I like that. No, first of all, I love your transparency. That's amazing because we hear this a lot as far as sometimes people reach out and want to look into the teams because they have that fear of failure, or there's like this desperation of I'm not doing this, I'm not doing very well myself, so I've got to go the next step. Or we find like, hey, this isn't working. Now I need to go try this or that. But that fear of failure is a lot of things that we talked about last week as well and this week. So tell me a little bit more about your fear as far as that goes. And you kind of said I'm afraid to fail the team. Talk to me a little bit about that. When you say that, what do you mean by that?
So I'm basically afraid to get fired. Like I won't hold up to doing the things that I have to do, and then I'll have to walk past the team and be like, "Hi, I'm the girl you fired." Like, I'm also not sure. Mm, I guess I should have asked, but I'll get back to them. Uh, because I don't like right now. I don't know how to reach out. Like if I have to reach like 50 contacts each week, like I'm not sure how to get those yet. Like and I'm not sure if they're gonna help me with that. And I'm just like, I just those are really my doubts.
Yeah. Okay. Those are great and exactly what we're talking about. So, would anybody like to talk a little bit about that fear and what we've learned so far and the things that we've read and that we've talked about of that fear and what really is fear and failure, especially because she mentioned failure. Does anybody want to chime in there?
Well, I would just one thing I would just say is your mindset now getting you to where you want to go? Is that if that is a limiting belief, are you reaching your financial, family, all those things, all those goals? And if not, it sounds like you're recognizing that that's a limiting belief, and that's where it starts. So I commend you with that. That's what came to mind with that. Like that's where it starts, is get it out in the open, and by you telling us, that's accountability, and you only can grow from that. That was my first thoughts.
I love that. Anybody else? That's perfect, Sam, because yes, that's huge. So that's exactly why we're doing what we're doing. And here's the things that I would encourage. So some of the things that we've read is failure is only if you A, don't try, or B, you quit. Okay, failure isn't you didn't make your contacts or they're going to fire you. Here's what I know about teams. You don't necessarily get fired per se unless there's some sort of culture issue. You've done something that seriously kind of is away from the values of the team. The way you might get let go, or the conversation could be maybe it's not the right fit, is if their expectations and your goals and all of these things aren't matching. So it isn't necessarily always your failure. It could be something on their end that isn't working. Maybe they're not they're not meeting your expectations. So here's the thing. how would you feel if you didn't try? If you feel like this is the right fit, so let's say that, if you truly feel this is the right fit, how would you feel if you didn't try?
Well, at that point, I just feel like fear is stopping me from doing what I need to do, which is the ultimate failure, I guess.
Hey, there we
Yeah.
go. Yes. So not trying is the ultimate failure, and giving up. Because, hey, you know what? I bet every single person here can tell you about 25 failures that have happened in just the last year. Does anybody know what I'm talking about? Right? Like, raise your hand if you've been there. Of course. Listen, we are going to fail again and again and again. The fact that they believe you're the right fit, and they have this belief in you that you can do it, it's you that's holding you back from you. So worst case scenario, Loani, you get in there, it's not the right fit, you're not able to keep up. What's going to happen? Like, worst case scenario, what would happen?
I am a single agent again.
You're a single agent again. However, you know that you've given it everything that you have, and it just didn't work. And you get to walk by, and you know what? I'll tell you, there's so many people in that office who have once been on a team, no longer on a team, walking through. If they know you've given it everything you've got, you know you've given it everything you've got, and it just didn't work, or sometimes it doesn't work for other reasons, that's okay. So which feels worse, giving it a shot and not making it work, or letting fear stop you from making a decision that you believe is maybe the best decision?
Definitely letting fear stopping me from doing.
Yeah. Well, there you go. So that gives you something to think about in that
Right.
situation. All right.
Thank you,
Yes,
guys. Yeah.
you got it. Yeah. Anybody else want to share? All right. Yeah. After that, you're like, no, thanks. I'm going to want you in my business. I'm going to keep that to myself. Okay. Go ahead.
I have something too, Debbie, something really interesting. So last year's challenge that we talked about in the first one that you gave me to read through the book in 4 days. A lot of what I do, I put dates when I read books, just because I want to know like the revelation I'm getting during that season. So I always try to date my books. And it said, so I was reading a note from 3/26/20, and this is right when we talked. It said, bookkeeper or QuickBooks? I don't like all of the busy work of real estate. How do I delegate? Which is really interesting because I hired a bookkeeper. Like, that's what I was going on in that challenge at that time. And you fast forward, I got a bookkeeper and I got leverage and I can do more now. And, I increased my business last year, and a lot of it was just delegating busy work. So I just thought that was, I literally wrote that note there, and it was just really interesting.
Yeah, I love that you wrote that. See, that's so cool when you can kind of measure it, when you actually see movement forward. There's something about being able to see that movement forward that feels like such a big win. And we need to celebrate those wins, right? Because we have a lot of things that are tough, but celebrating those wins are amazing. So, all right, guys, thank you so much for sharing. I want to talk about this third common myth this time. I ran across a video that I thought would be great for us to get in this mindset of the myths and what we're talking about and the limiting beliefs. And we're going to get into thinking with a big why. We're going to get into that, which again is very much into the mindset. So I want to share a video with you so we can all get in that. I'd love to hear what you think about this video. Okay. Give me a few minutes to share my screen. Let's see. Okay, you guys can see my screen now?
Yep.
Awesome. Are we supposed to be hearing the video?
Yeah, we can't hear.
Yeah, we can't hear it. Okay, let me try again. I have to just take out let's try that again.
These are roughly 28,835 jelly beans. I counted out 500 of them and used those to weigh the rest. In this pile, there's one jelly bean for each day that the average American will live. You might have more beans in your life, or maybe less, but on average, this is the time we have. Here's a single bean. It's your very first day. A special day, but kind of a rough day on everyone involved. Add 364 more and you have the first year of your life. Now, for a sense of scale, here are your first 15 years, 5,475 days, which brings us to the threshold of adulthood. And at that moment, this is the time that we have left. And this is, on average, what we will do with all that time. We will be asleep for a total of 8,477 days. If we're lucky, some of that time we'll be sleeping next to someone we love. We will be in the process of eating, drinking, or preparing food for 1,635 days. We'll be at work, hopefully doing something satisfying, for the equivalent of 3,202 of those days. 1,099 days will be spent commuting or traveling from one place to another, maybe a little bit more if you live in LA. On average, we will watch television in one form or another for a total of 2,676 days. Household activities, like chores and tending to our pets and shopping, will take another 1,576 days. And we will care for the needs and well-being of others, our friends and family, for 564 days. We'll spend 671 days bathing, grooming, and doing all other bathroom-related activities. And another 720 days will go to community activities, like religious and civic duties, charities, and taking classes. After we remove all those beans, this is what remains. This is the time that we have left. Time for laughing, swimming, making art, going on hikes, text messages, reading, checking Facebook, playing softball, maybe even teaching yourself how to play the guitar. So what are you going to do with this time? How much of it do you think you've already used up? If you only had half of it, what would you do differently? What about half of that? How much time have you already spent worrying instead of doing something that you love? What if you just had one more day? What are you going to do today?
All right. So I think this goes exactly into what you were talking about, Luani. Like, what are you going to do today with the time that we have left? What did you guys think about that?
I just think it means to like live in the moment more, stop worrying so much.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what I got.
Okay. Anybody else?
First, I felt like I got a cavity just watching it. But no, secondly, I just think just intentionality. That's what I got. Just being intentional with your decisions. Yeah, it just really makes you think. Like, I've been thinking a lot during this new year about just how much time people spend on Facebook. It's just, and social media. It's just super fascinating when you study it. So that's intentionality.
Yeah. I think it's especially these days that we've had more time at home and we're spending more time with family and that sort of thing. And then it's always an aha when you think of how much time, like the bathroom activities, the sleeping, all of that you really spend, of how much time we have to be with others and to do the things that we love. And, not only wasting time, but it's just so limited. The time is so limited. So are we being purposeful, and are we living with intention, and are we making sure that those moments that we do have, that we're doing them at the highest level? So that's what that video, of course, visually is wanting to show you, is the time that we have that's limiting to do all of these things, those bucket list things, those things that we say we're going to do and that we want to do, is really how long are we going to put those off? And that goes into this myth of it would take too much time and freedom. It would take away my freedom to do things like a 411, right? A lot of people, oh, I don't like to do that 411. It takes me so much time and I feel like it's constricting, right? It gives me structure. It makes me do all of these things. When in actuality, that 411 is meant to focus you and to make you get so purposeful that you are on track and you actually have more freedom and more time. So who here does I'm sure most of you have done a 1-3-5. I trust that you've done that. Here, who works that 4-1-1 on a weekly or monthly basis? Who here doesn't know what I'm talking about when I say 4-1-1? Let's start there. Hey, Alexia, I love you and your transparency. Yes, Tatiana, you're fairly new. And you know what's cool about that, Alexia, is you're so successful. Imagine like if you were super purposeful and efficient and organized. Like it doesn't always have to be you doing it. Sometimes that's a person, system, or tools like we talked about before with leverage. But imagine what you could do if it was more organized. So yeah, so that's definitely something we'll talk about down the road is some of these things. But that myth of it takes too much time. It takes too much time on organized. Here's another one. Who has space in their calendar already blocked out to organize the following week?
I do.
Yes, Jackie, I believe that was you too. Yes. So if you haven't done that, that's one of the activities I want you to do today. Whether it's Sunday, I find most people do it on a Sunday, but you do which day you prefer, to basically spend 15 to 20 minutes looking at your entire schedule for the following week, determining what you need to get set up, to be prepared. Maybe you need to confirm appointment. Maybe you've completely forgot to put something in your calendar and you need to block that off. It's a great time to start figuring out exactly who you're going to call in lead generation. If you haven't done that, time block today for your following week organization. I can promise you it will change your world. And if you get a text from me on Saturday or Sunday going like, hey, just want to confirm, are we doing in-person Zoom? That's because I've time blocked, usually on Sunday. Sometimes at the crack of dawn, I'm doing it because everybody else is asleep and it's my quiet time. My parents know what I'm talking about. We love our morning quiet time to actually go through and prepare for that week. If we're on page 55, it says the key to success at this point is not to apply more time or effort to the equation, but to think of time and effort differently. Again, we talked about this last time of time doesn't always equal success. Effort doesn't always equal success, guys. So a lot of people will go, oh, I'm just going to throw time at it. I'm going to throw money on it. Sometimes it's that leverage piece and it's being more focused and intentional. Okay, on page 56, it says, by maintaining your focus on what was important and applying leverage, they earned back their time. So I know sometimes it takes a little bit of time to get set up and to get these things in place, but imagine what you could do with 3 more hours a week. Doesn't seem a lot, except when you get to do something that you really want to do for 3 hours. Let me ask you, Lorena, what could you do with 3 more hours in your week? What would you do with that? If you could do anything that you wanted to do, what would you do with 3 more hours a week?
Oh God, I can't even begin to think about it. I don't know. I'll probably spend time for me, get a massage, go do my nails. I don't know.
Yes, and let's
Your
go
hubby
deeper.
smiled. I bet he has an idea.
It doesn't involve you, honey. It's all me.
For those of you who don't know, he's on this call. That's Omar up here. So he's like, probably, I'm going to stay quiet because anything I can and say will be used against me. So yes. So Lorena, let's go deeper on that. So, right, you had to really think about what you would do in that time. Let's think about that. So let's just say, okay, yeah, you got some me time, whatever that looked like, massages, nails, all that good stuff. What would that do for your life? What would that do for you and for your life?
It will give me peace of mind because right now I'm always on the run. If it's not business, it's a kid. So to have 3 hours just for me, I could actually time block.
Hey, so, and then what would that do for your family, Lorena? Because you feel good, like you're like, I feel
I'll
like
be
a
happy.
woman.
Hubby will benefit, kids will benefit, no more screaming. Definitely.
So
Much needed.
yes, and so that's the point, guys. What is that worth to you? Like, what is spending that extra time and getting your time back truly worth? On the surface, we think, oh, great, I'll be able to do this and that. But when you go deeper of what you'll be able to do, you're going to be able to do these things for you. You're going to basically fill that bucket within yourself, ultimately doing all of these things for family. You see, in our brains, we think we're doing all of these things and working so hard for our family, when really that's not what they want. They want you. They want happy Lorena.
Yeah.
They want sassed up Lorena with her nails and happy family. That's what they want. So sometimes we have to tweak our mindset on, no, I have to give them money and things. They want you. Our family wants us, or whatever that looks like. Our friends, they want our time. So think about that a little bit differently and make sure you're really working towards your goal of what you want to do. Okay? Thank you, Lorena. All right, let's talk about the fourth myth of being too risky. So we have a lot of really, sometimes we have people that are super high tolerance risk and we have people that are super low tolerance risk, and that's okay. There's no right or wrong there, but sometimes we allow it to paralyze us. Okay, so I'll lose money. A lot of times it's about money. Loani shared with us, sometimes it's about that fear of failure, whatever that looks like, it's too risky. So let's focus on the money portion, because this is what it talks about here. One of the things of it's too risky, it's really too risky if you don't go into it with the right amount of research and understanding. You guys, if you haven't heard, red light, green light is something you'll hear in Keller Williams all the time. Basically what red light, green light means is really holding each dollar that you spend accountable. Okay, so one of the ways that all of us, I'll give you a quick tip that so many of us do, is we cancel our business credit card every single year. At the end of the year, we cancel our business credit card. If you don't use, or hey, this goes into a whole nother thing. If you don't have a separate business account or a separate business credit card, put that down in your notes right now to do today to get that, because you really need to be separating those expenses so you can really run your business like a business. That's a whole different class. But let's just say you have that set up. We cancel our credit card every single year. Why do we do that?
Clarity is power. We don't cancel it. We report it lost. Don't cancel your account, guys. Report it lost and get a new card.
Yes. Thank you, Jackie. Thank you for that clarification. Absolutely. Because it'll dink your credit. So yes, report it lost so they will send you a new credit card. And why do I do that, Jackie? Why do we do that?
Because all those little charges you have on there cannot continue charging. So you'll get an email saying, hey, your Disney annual pass was not paid this month. And you can say, yeah, you know what? I need to cancel that.
Yes. Yes. Especially for those of us that have all these things. And sometimes we accidentally sign up for stuff. Anybody else have their Alexa, like sign them up for stuff? And you're like, what? I don't remember signing up for that craziness. So sometimes that happens. And if we're not paying super big attention, canceling your credit card requires them to either call you and say, hey, do you really want this? Which basically is better for me because I don't have to reach out to them and go through that whole thing of getting in touch with somebody, talk to 5,000 computers. It allows me to say, no, thanks, don't want the service anymore. Also, it cancels the stuff I didn't even know I'm paying for. And it causes me to go, wait, $775. I need to go back and determine what kind of return on investment I got on that. So holding your dollars accountable is exactly what this is talking about. And canceling that credit card, although it's a pain to give a new credit card to the office, make sure some of those things that you're constantly every month charge. Granted, it might take you an hour, it might take you 2 hours. However, I promise you, most of us save anywhere between $1,000 to $10,000 a year just by doing that, holding your money accountable. Any questions on that or thoughts around canceling that credit card? Yes, so holding your dollars accountable, let's talk about that. For those of you that buy leads, pay for special marketing, all of that, if you have not done an audit on what you're spending money on, and if it's not providing you a return on investment, cancel it. Now, if you are just starting something out, Make sure you're keeping track of what leads are coming from it, eventually what closings are coming from it. If you are not getting at least a 5 times return on investment, question it. Question it deeply. Sometimes people are okay with 3, sometimes people hold it to 10 times. But if you're not getting a return on investment, and that includes people too, everybody, that includes people. If you're not getting a return on investment, now sometimes it's time. Sometimes instead of money, it's time. If I hire somebody because of time, like our cleaning service, that's time and honestly my sanity. Okay, so I'm switching it out for something else, and the idea is to keep it accountable. And if you are keep it accountable, risk, yes, could you lose money on something? Yes, but if you don't try, same concept, guys. If you never try, how do you know? How do you know what that will truly give you? So anybody have anything they're curious if they're getting a return on investment or they're not sure how to measure it? Is there anybody kind of questioning something that they're paying for?
I have something I pay for and I'm not getting anything back on it.
Yeah,
But
tell me about that.
we've got the kiosks. So we don't do like any we don't like do any pay for leads or anything. We did that a while ago, but so we have the kiosk. It's like $700 a month. We have 2 kiosks. Besides like a little, hey, I saw you fame. That's really all we've gotten from it. So I question it because we have 6 months left on it. Like, do we keep it to keep our face in the Conway area, but yet then we don't push the Conway area too hard. We just live here. So, I'm kind of torn on because it's a lot of money.
Yeah, and usually something like that you almost have to pair with other stuff, just like you talked about in your community. If you were doing 5 different things in your community and that was one of the things, again, to kind of back up all those things, that's when that can be really worth it. It's hard to measure sometimes, but you'll see people, I saw you, and that's really great things. Now, how long have you been doing that?
I'm doing it for like 6 months now, I think.
Okay, so now is a great time to really start to audit that. Look at the calls that you had. How many times have people said, I've seen you, I've seen that, and then how have you done business with those people in the last 6 months? Have they provided you any referrals? So start to hold that accountable. That is definitely one of those long-term things. However, you have to look at what your expectation was. What did you think it would bring you? Look, if you haven't tracked, think about all those times or guesstimate how many times people have said they've seen you. Is there something that you need to tweak? Do you need to be out there for some time? Do you need to join it or have something else go with that? What does that look like? But now is a great time to hold that accountable to see if it's worth it, because there's a lot of other things that you could then spend $700 on and get bigger results. And that's what you need to think of. If I spent $700 a month on this that I already know that's working, maybe that's what we need to do.
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you for sharing, because that's a big one. Absolutely. So the next myth is about my clients will only work with me, only I can deliver quality service. Okay, that's a whole different thing about teams, and we're going to dive deep into that because that is a big myth. Just remember, guys, I want you to write this down. We're not going to dive deep into this now, but I want you to write this down. Clients or customers are not loyal to you. Customers are not loyal to you. They are loyal to the standards you set. How do I know that? All you have to do is take a look at the NAR statistics, everybody. The NAR statistics are telling us that very few people end up using their realtor again. And also what it tells us is what buyers really want, buyers and sellers really want from their agent. If you'll notice, the statistic does not say, I want to use the same agent again. They want negotiations. They want help in finding the home. They want education and information. Okay, that's not you. That's the standards that you set. And if you train properly, if you set expectations properly, and if you do the transition properly, those people will stay with you because of the standards you set. So that's a myth as well. And it's been proven again and again, and we'll dive deep into that. All right, let's talk about, which we already dived deep into. We are on page 61. Having a goal and not fully realizing it is a negative thing. And we just talked about that thanks to Loani sharing. That's that fear of failure, guys. That's the fear of failure. So if you look at page 63 under the fear of failure, it says, too many people live their lives under the mistaken assumption that success is a matter of avoiding failure. The problem with that approach is living is that when you actively avoid a failure, you tend to avoid challenges as well. Success is not about avoiding failure. Failure is about avoiding failure. Okay, so that talks about exactly what we were saying. Okay, so everybody write down on their sheet, if you have your notes, TFAR. Okay, a little space between the letters, TFAR. Most of you have heard this in bold, which for those who are newer, bold is kind of like an ignite on steroids. It's for all levels, and it's something that's super stressful and pushes you to that limit. It is that challenge of a lifetime. It is another training program that we do called Bold, and you learn not only about mindset, but also about the business. So here's what TFAR. T is your thoughts. F is your feelings. A is your actions. And R are your results. Okay? Your thoughts lead to your feelings, lead to your actions, which give you results. Okay? And so now, as we are talking about, we talked a little bit about Think a Million, and I had a couple of you reach out to me and talk about that thought, that mindset. When we talked about, when I said the word millionaire, and we talked about some books, I had a couple people pick up that book about the financial thermostat. That's what we're talking about, that Think a Million. Let's turn to page 67 and 68. So this Think a Million and that fear of failure, all of this thing comes together. We have a lot of people out there, guys, who never gave up. They failed again and again and again, but they were relentless of getting what they want. They kept going. So it was never truly a failure because they never stopped. Michael Jordan, President Lincoln, Oprah, Edison. There's so many people who failed, they got denied, they got fired, yet they were relentless in their goal because they wanted it so bad, which led them to success. So those thoughts, those limiting beliefs that we have in our head, those things stop us from taking action and taking those right actions. Your thoughts lead to your feelings, lead to your actions, lead to your results. So if you have negative thoughts and negative beliefs, those actions that you are going to take are not going to get you the results that they want. They're all connected. They're all connected. Page 70. I have highlighted right in the middle of my book, truly aggressive people might at first think this is a waste of good selling or listing time. And that's talking about thinking. But in the fact, the matter is ready, aim, fire always wins out in the long run over. Ready, fire, aim. I'm going to read that again. Truly aggressive people might at first think this is a waste of good selling or listing time. And what it's talking about here, to put it in context, is actually preparing and doing your research and putting yourself in the right mindset. Who are my Tony Robbins fans? Raise your hand. Yeah, we've got a lot of them. How much, guys, does he talk about your state of mind? It's everything with Tony Robbins. If you're not in the right state of mind, then you shouldn't be making those phone calls. That's why you'll see some of us nerds have mirrors in front of us to see, are we smiling? Do we have energy when we're making phone calls? Because believe me, it makes a difference. If we're not in the right state and we're not in the right mindset, it's very difficult to get where we need to be. So here's what he's talking about of getting ready, getting prepared. Truly aggressive people might at first think this is a waste of good selling or listing time, but the fact of the matter is, ready, aim, fire always wins out. Ready, fire, aim. Here's the deal, guys. A lot of us lack patience. I fully throw that up there. And I know many of you, can feel that. We lack patience to do the full prep. We're like, let's go in there, let's do it. And then there's people who do it the other way. They do that ready, aim, 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 and they're scared to death to fire. There's two different kinds of people. So you could be either one, and either one can be paralyzing, can cost you a lot of money, and of course, kind of kill your dream after a while. Anybody know what I'm talking about? Who can relate to the ready, aim, fire, or which one, or they get locked up in there? Who can relate to that? Lorena, Sam, Jackie, yes. Jen. Yeah, that's a big thing with this, guys, of the ready, aim, fire. So let's talk about one of the big things I want to talk about, your big why. Okay, we're on page 71, the 9 ways a millionaire real estate thinks. So if you remember last session, we went through that pyramid, right, of think a million all the way to give a million. We actually added one to the pyramid. For those who weren't there, we went through that entire pyramid and then we added give a million. So right now we're going to dive deep into that think a million. And the way that we start to think a million is we have to understand what our big why is, meaning why we do what we do, why we wake up in the morning and get up and start like working and start hustling like so many of us do, or why we can't get up. We have to have 15 alarms to actually push us out of bed. Like everybody has a big why of what they do every single morning. And so one of the things that we need to do as we go through this book is to figure out what that big why is. Now, I don't want that to paralyze you if you can't figure it out, but it's a good idea now to start researching this and figuring it out. So a couple books, one specifically is called Start With Why. If you don't have any idea what I'm talking about, you have no idea why you do what you do, what that inner motivation, guys, I don't mean what this tells you up here. I mean what this tells you here, and we're going to do an exercise. Ready? Again, that book is Start With Why if you want to write that. Okay. So, Sam, you've done this before with me, so we know it works. Okay. So before we actually start asking you about big why, or you think you know your big why, let's do this. I want you to kind of put yourself in a place and think about your life. Okay, whether you need to close your eyes, turn off your camera, whatever you need to do. I want you to write down 5 of the biggest times or events in your life where that you feel were the best times. I'm talking as far back as you can remember to yesterday. Write down the top 5 things that come to your mind when you think like, that was amazing. I still remember it as being the best time in my life, the best day of the life. Like, for instance, one of mine, which is so cheesy, yet I remember it like it was yesterday, is on my 16th birthday. I was playing softball, and we won this huge, gigantic tournament, and I won the game. I hit a grand slam and won the game. Stupid, right? Yet that is one of mine. Like, I remember just being on top of the world. That's where I want you to put your put place. Like, where did you feel the biggest accomplishment? I want you to get into emotion, guys, here, because this isn't like, oh, I graduated, oh, you know, I got married. I mean, it might be, but I want you to think when you felt like, dang, I nailed that. That was awesome. And write the top 5. If you have more than 5, that's cool too, but write down those top 5.
I find it very hard to dig deep, Debbie. Struggle.
Alexia, you and I could do this together too on a one-on-one, but just, yeah, think of times that's the thing. And it doesn't have to, if they're not coming to you, just start writing down stuff, Alexia. Just like, okay, I don't know if that's a top 5, but just start writing down stuff that you were like, that was amazing. I don't care if it was the biggest party in the world and you were like, yes, that's it. Whatever it is, whatever made you feel awesome, you completed a boot camp. Is as little and silly as it seems, start writing it down.
Alexia,
Nothing.
we need to go have a party together and create a party.
Yes. My Alexia needs more fantastic times, I think. I think we could do that.
Clearly, I'm depleted over here.
Yes. And again, this goes way, way back. Okay. And when you're done, go ahead and look up. If your camera's off, that's okay too. Because now I want you to switch it. Now I want you, as hard as it may be, to dig really deep and write down the 5 hardest, toughest times in your life. Now, I don't want you to go in full description. I just want you to kind of like 3 to 8 words of what that was. Write down the 3 or the 5 top toughest times that you've had and what they were. And you're not going to read these out, guys, so be honest with yourself. This is totally for you and you only.
Debbie, I love your office.
Yes, Marina, I know you joined a little late. Well, I'm in the rest area on my way to Miami, taking my kid back to school. So
That's awesome. No, I'm sharing offices. Look.
yes, we do what we have to do. Yes.
I'm just missing the kiddos. Look.
Yeah, you forgot a couple things, Marina. Yes. So write those things down, and maybe if a really good time popped back into your mind, feel free to add to that. That's okay too. Replace something, mark it out. This is all about you. No right or wrong. Everybody good? Somebody need more time? Just raise your hand for me. Let me know you need a little more time. Awesome. Okay. So here's what we find. A lot of times when somebody asks us our big why and what we do, because we're good people, we automatically go to here and we answer exactly maybe what comes off the top of our head or maybe what we think we should say, right? It's our kids, it's our family. I want to give back to my family. I want to leave a legacy. And sometimes it is. However, what this exercise does is cause you to look deeper on what truly drives you. When you look at these 5 things that were your best moments that you can remember were like game changers in your life and how you felt about yourself, and these 5 things that were the toughest also do the same thing. They've been embedded into your brain and your body and your soul to drive you at different, because of different things. Can we all agree that things that have happened in our past are generally what drives us, right? We say a lot of things, right? We say the right things, but ultimately it's usually these experiences that truly drive us. For instance, maybe those of us who have had an alcoholic in our life, the drive to always be in control and be in control of that specifically is not because I'm a good person and I don't want to become a drunk. It's because I've seen it, I've lived it. And that's what drives me never to get there and to be that. It's not because I'm a good person, it's because I've seen what happens and I felt what happens. So that's an example of what I'm talking about. So when you look at these 5 things on each side, there's usually starts to be a little bit of a pattern. You might start to see a pattern. If you see the same words in your top 5 best and worst, if you start to, I want you to take a look at them and see if you start to see a pattern. Things like winning, things like losing, things like loss. That pattern and these things, when you start to look at them, and if you can put together a pattern, either one of those things or these things together usually play a big role in what truly drives you. Fear is another one. That's where that fear of failure pops in, because that's driving you. That's driving your decisions. So instead of, the whole point with this exercise, guys, is to get out of here when you're looking for your big why and dive deep into here of what truly drives you. Anybody have kind of an aha moment of maybe what they thought was their big why? Maybe they need to think about that a little more. Lorena, yes.
After looking at this, obviously I didn't know we were gonna be doing this.
Yes, that's the
big why,
point.
yeah, my big why is always my children, you know. And based on this, it does have to do with family, but the three things that really come together is that I need my family, I need self-accomplishment, and I need financial security. If
Yes.
if I look at my 5 best and my 5 worst, I find at least one of those things in each one.
Yes. Yes. So what it causes you to do, Lorena, is you're right. It can absolutely be your family, but it may not be. So, to provide them all these things, it could be instead to protect them from these things ever happening, not having a home or having financial security. So it causes you to really dive in deep of to what that true big why is. So that's exactly why we do this, and why I don't tell you what we're doing, because I don't want you to think, oh gosh, like this is bad, because I want you to dive deep, because these things and these feelings that you guys have are unique to you, and these are truly things that drive you. Just like the story I told about the alcoholic, when I think about that, when I looked at my things, when I did this exercise with one of my coaches, I kept seeing the word win, 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 win. And not necessarily like win a game, but just like winning something, being the best at something, striving to get something, working really hard for something. And loss had to do a lot with loss, whether it was of people, maybe it was sports type things. So winning and losing became a huge aha for me of, I get up every day because I want to make sure I want to win the day. And I don't mean like the win of beating everybody. That's not what I mean. I want to feel here that I've done absolutely everything I can to win the day in my mind and feel like I've won the day. Now, let's face it, guys. There are days I'm like, that was horrible. I lost that day. Like, let's face it, guys, we're human. Some days we wake up and we're like, don't want to adult today. Who's with me? Who wakes up sometime and like, yes, I would like to check out. Thank you very much. And that's okay, guys. That's normal. This isn't about being perfect every single day. It's being able to pull yourself out of the funk and go, all right, so yesterday was a huge loss and today is going to be better. So I hope part of the homework for this week, guys, is going to be your big why and thinking about your big why and taking a look at these things you've written down. Maybe you need to tweak them a little bit. Maybe you need to look a little bit more into your big why, because why is this so important to understand? Why is your big why so important to understand? If you
Because when tough times come, I mean, that becomes very handy. When you're tired, when you're not winning the day, you have to say, okay, why am I doing this? So it has
yes,
to be a strong big why. Yep.
you got it. And
Debbie,
think about it. Yes, go ahead, Sam.
can I add? Well, this is something Debbie challenged me when we did this, I don't know, like a year or so ago. That one, you get to know why and what you say yes to, why you do it, and also what you say no to. So like, why do you say yes and no to those things? And then something Debbie challenged me with, she's like, you got to know your why, so I know what doors to open up for you. So there
Yes.
could be people in leadership roles or people around you that want to open up doors, but you don't know what the crap you're doing and why you're doing it. So they don't know how to connect you. They don't know how to help you. And that was like, holy crap, like that's a big deal, right? Like, wow, Debbie wants to help me, but I don't even know what's going on. So she doesn't know how. And since then I got revelation and insight on, okay, this is what I need to do. And she's helped give a lot of direction. So literally this was life-changing for me when I really honed in and not being like self-righteous, like, oh, this is why, and protect my kids and my family. And that could be, it really could be, but be real with yourself. And it literally was life-changing for me. So that's what I got out of it.
Yeah. And Sam, I'll share. It was things like, because a lot of times people think they know what they want, it comes out of their mouth, but they're all over the place, and it's like, I'm not sure which way to direct you. And what you found out, and is things like, I'd love to coach, like my number one thing is giving back and helping people, and I'd love to write a book. And so now it was like, okay, so now and this is going to get into our mission, guys, what our mission is in life. KWKC, Jackie could speak to this all along. Our big why kind of feeds into our mission and allows us to say no to those things that seem great, but they don't necessarily align with our mission. Okay. And a lot of times we have a lot of opportunity, and as agents and just as people in general who want to be high achievers, we have to learn to say no to those things that might be great for somebody else, but they don't align with our mission. And so we've been able to do that. Like, Sam, okay, this is a great opportunity. However, you told me you want to go in this direction. Is that really what you want to do? And a lot of times that helps. So thank you, Sam. And if you guys look on 72, right under Think Powered by a Big Why, above all else, we've discovered that one thing all high achievers have in common is they are working for a big why. The big why is about having a purpose, a mission, or a need that in turn gives you what? What's that F word there? For those that have their book.
Focus.
Focus. It's one of the good F words. Focus. High achievers always have a big why powering their actions. Okay, a great example of how a big why works in our lives is the day before a vacation miracle. So the second part of your homework, guys, is to read page 72 through page 76. And we're going to talk more about that vacation miracle. So your number one homework is to dive deep and talk and think about your big why. What drives you to get up? Or maybe what drives you to stop doing what you really should be doing. Find that big why, figure out how we can pull it into a positive. And that vacation miracle is always something. If you were truly focused, right? I'm going to leave you with this in the last minutes of if you're truly focused, if you know you're going to Hawaii tomorrow, let's face it, the day before you are a boss. You are like, throw it at me. I'm going to finish it. I'm going to get it out of the way because tomorrow I'm aloha, baby. So think of all the things you can get done. You're not on Facebook. You're not doing this. You're not doing things that don't go towards your goal for the day because you know you got to get it done so you can get out of town. And that's what you're going to dive deep in there. So let's do that for next week. So let's end. Tell me about your ahas. Tell me about the things you learned and stuck out to you for you today. Shout them out for me.
Customers are not loyal to you. They're loyal to the standards you set.
Yes. And we are going to dive deep into that when we get to leverage. Yes. What else?
For me, it was getting back to using the 411. I used it all last year. I haven't used it for the past 3 months, but it was very purposeful. And when you wake up in the morning, it really tells you what you need to do for the entire day. And as well as you can, because you got to put that in your calendar. So I have to get back to using the 411.
Yes. Yeah, that 411. I mean, I've been guilty of that too. And then I found myself all over the place. Not only just if we don't know what our job is every day, a lot of us have that personality of we will go whichever way we get distracted. Whoever pulls us in a direction, absolutely. If we don't have that 411. Great point, Omar. Anybody else? Give me two more. I'd love to hear two more.
If you're not getting 5 times your ROI, then rethink it.
Yes, 5 times ROI. Is it worth it? Do you need to either get back your time or your money and spend it on other things? Absolutely. One more.
That we should choose a day to plan ahead for the following week.
Yes. Yes. Guys, I promise you that 15 minutes will change your world to get you set. You can cancel appointments, move appointments, and come Monday morning when we all are kind of dragging and like, oh, here we go for another week. I promise you, you will feel better about the week because you are organized and you know what you have to do for even the next day. So perfect. All right. Did you guys enjoy today? It was a little hard on the emotions, but there's a reason for it. I promise you, because those thoughts and those feelings lead to your actions. I just want to remind you all again, we're going to really dive into your tracking numbers. We kind of wait until we get a little bit of a pattern. What am I talking about here? I am talking about, let me get to the right one. I am talking about this spreadsheet. If you haven't received it yet, I'll make sure you do. So it's going to look like this. I believe everybody's name that has been attending.
You're sharing the wrong screen.
You're sharing the wrong.
Okay, I can see it on mine, so it must not be. Let's try that again. Oh, weird. Okay.
Do we fill that in or do you fill that in?
You fill that in. So these are your tracking numbers. Does anybody need me to go back through those numbers?
What does it?
Yes, I don't see my name on there, but
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, so I'll make sure your name is in there. I'll make sure that you're on the list, Alexia, and I'll make sure. So everybody should have this on their page, and I'll share that again. I'm not sure. I think it's probably, is it showing you system preferences? Is that what
Yeah.
you guys see? Okay,
Yeah.
let me close that.
On that spreadsheet, I had a question. What does EC stands for?
Executed contract.
Executed contracts. Okay.
Can you guys see it now?
Yes.
Okay, so this is a Google Drive.
No.
I'll make sure everybody's name is on it, and you will be tracking new Mets. Those are people that you're adding to your database, and Mets, meaning they would do business with you or refer you business. Again, they can be old leads that you've been able to move into your Met category. So new Mets, contacts, those are people that you've actually had one-on-one conversation or text or Facebook message with, or two-way, I should say, back and forth about real estate. Appointments, new appointments, not a buyer that you've met 16 times. Agreements, buyer or seller agreements. I know we don't get buyer agreements signed a lot of times. That's if they're working with you and have agreed to work with you. That works too. And executed contracts. I know we've got a couple people that have filled those out, but we need a couple weeks to kind of look at some patterns. So I will make sure, again, if your name is not on there, I've got a picture of everybody who's here. I'll add your name, make sure to copy it over. And then also to make sure that you fill this out, and we will go through it. Monette, by the way, if you don't know, our virtual assistant Monette at the Market Center has been sending those out. So if you find those in spam, I promise it's real. So that's with this. She'll usually also kind of remind people of the homework and what pages we're going to be going through.
I don't think
So,
I have anything from her.
Can you make sure I'm added there? This wasn't shared with me.
yep, you got it. I'll make sure everybody's added, and that way you guys can start sharing these and getting your numbers in and tracking those. And then we're going to kind of take some calculations from there, especially as we get to the different models, the economic and budget and things like that. We're going to go through that. So,
I wrote
all right.
down Nowani, my mom, and Alexia. Was there anybody else? I can...
Yes, I know Denise Rogers needs it.
My name was on there, but I didn't get it, Debbie. So I don't know what email she has.
Okay, you got it. I'll make sure she has the right one. Jen, it looks like Jen is not on it, so we'll make sure she has it. Anybody else? Awesome. All right, I got to go get my kid to college and spend all my money at University of Miami. So bye, guys. Thanks for joining us. Bye.